Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the RGVSports.com RGV Hoops podcast. This is episode 7 as we continue to move along in the playoffs and unfortunately get closer and closer to the end of the year. But on the upside, a lot of teams still doing pretty well, and on the girls' side, at least one still hanging in there. We'll cover all of them and all that and get you caught up on the boys' side, too. Guys helping me do that today are going to be our girls' basketball beat writer, Jon LaFollette.
The season is being swiped left right now in the playoffs.
Absolutely, and our boys' basketball beat writer, Mario Aguirre.
We're still swiping right. Half of us are swiping right.
I don't know. I'm not in touch enough to know which one is which, so I'm just
if you could swipe right to any boys' basketball team that's still in it, what would you swipe right for?
Vela.
Edinburg Vela.
Vela?
Yeah, easy call.
They're the Golden State Warriors of the Valley.
I know where this is going all the time. All right, so let's get into it with some girls' games. Let's start actually with the look ahead, because I think that's probably the most pressing thing.
Sure.
Because the last team still standing. Weslaco High will face San Antonio Wagner at UTSA on Friday. So let's talk about that Weslaco High Harlingen High game, which to me seems like the game of the week. What happened in this one? How did Weslaco pull it out after being, I think, soundly beaten by these guys earlier in the year?
Yeah, earlier in the season, Weslaco High lost by about 15 to 20 points, something like that, to Harlingen. And all season long, I said Harlingen was never going to lose to a Valley team. They lose to one Valley team all season, and it's in the playoffs to Weslaco High. I had a chance to see this game online, and Weslaco just went out. Harlingen they're a very talented team. They're a very deep team, but they're not a very particularly great shooting team. So Weslaco just came out in a 2-3 zone, dared Harlingen to shoot, never really did. And then their defense was so good. Weslaco's defense was so good at defending without fouling that Harlingen can never really get their inside game going either. And Weslaco High, as they've done all season long, despite being undersized, they controlled the glass, therefore they controlled the tempo, and there were so many moments, especially in the second half of this game, where Weslaco would get a rebound, and it would just be an outlet pass all the way down the other side of the court for an open layup, and Harlingen just couldn't adjust to it. And just as I've always talked about Harlingen's versatility this year, Weslaco's versatility was definitely on display in that game. You know, if they wanted to control the tempo and be methodical in the half court, they were getting buckets that way. Or if they just wanted to run up and down the court and outrun Harlingen, they'd get buckets that way. This was by far and away the most impressive win of the season for Weslaco, given the opponent. And when I had talked to Coach Fino before the playoffs started, she was already looking to head to round 3. Obviously, take one game at a time and yada yada, but she was already circling this potential matchup because she wanted Harlingen again. She felt like not just her team, but Fino herself felt like she had something to prove in this game. I feel like, because it's one thing to go 4 rounds deep when you've got a player like Van Tilburg or Angela Villarreal, who are both D1 players, but on this team there's not a single Division I athlete who at least is going to sign a letter, maybe a walk-on somewhere. And here they are. They're in the 4th round, and they beat a state-ranked team, a team that had won 24 games in a row up to this point. And there's no question of a doubt no shadow of a doubt, I should say, that they're the best girls basketball team in the Valley right now.
Who would you say was the MVP for Weslaco High in this game?
Ebony Nicholson. She got like 17 or 18 points. She's one of their posts. She's a really quiet player, because with Weslaco, their main 2 players are Jaslyn Muniz and Brianna Pena. They're 2 guards there. She just came out of nowhere, and she got a ton of points in this game. She got a ton of rebounds. She was one of the reasons why Weslaco was able to control the glass and control the tempo despite having a size disadvantage in this game.
Did you cover their first matchup, or did you get to see that game?
No, that game was in Harlingen too. Both these games were in Harlingen.
Because I'm wondering if you know, maybe from talking to somebody, what the difference was from the first time to this time to have such a big turnaround.
Well, I mean, it was early in the season. I think there might have been some injury issues with Weslaco, because I know at one point Bree and Jazz got injured during some tournament play. They played Harlingen right after a tournament, so that could have been an issue. They might not have been 100% healthy. And another thing is, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me, I suppose. So maybe it's just a level of familiarity there. And when talking to Coach Fino, I said that she wanted this Harlingen game so bad. And other conversations I've had with her, she says she hates losing more than she enjoys winning. So I can just imagine her just being meticulous in her preparation for this game and just obsessing over film and trying to find any kind of advantage they could.
So now Weslaco High is the last team standing,
Yep.
And we know they will face Wagner at 6 on Friday at UTSA, like we talked about. What do you know about Wagner, and what do we know about this matchup? Have you found anything?
I don't know too much about Wagner. I do know that to win this game, they beat Judson, who was in that district. This is 25-6 they were talking about. They got swept by Judson in the regular season. Then they beat them in the playoffs. And I'm looking at their MaxPreps page right now, and it's based off the information that I see there. This is a young team. They've only got 2 seniors. And they do have 2 big girls. They've got 2 sophomores. One is 6 foot, one is 6'2". No one else on Weslaco, I think, is above 5'7". Weslaco is a very small team. I wonder if they're going to be able to play kind of a versatile game here, just because of the size advantage that Wagner has. Now, granted, both of those bigger girls are sophomores. Who knows if they get any kind of playing time? I would assume they do, because, like I said, this is a younger team, and it seems like they don't have too much depth in terms of size. But I think it's just going to have. For Weslaco, it's going to be the same thing I think that it was against Harlingen. It's going to be controlling the tempo by controlling the glass. That's going to be their biggest key to success here.
Certainly going to, it's going to be hard to say what we can expect from this team that we haven't seen anything of and we don't know anything about. But it's at least encouraging that they haven't been crushing everybody all year.
Right.
A team that has lost some games here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And could conceivably be beatable. But
right.
We'd like to see how it plays out.
But one thing that also has to happen for Weslaco, they beat Harlingen by 10 points, but Jazz and Bree, the two players who I mentioned, had an off night. I think combined they only scored about 11 or 13 points.
So they could have been even better.
They could have been even better. I don't think they can do that and squeak out a win against Wagner. They're going to need everyone firing in all cylinders, certainly, if they're going to have a chance to win this one.
Well, we're going to make our picks for this game now. Since we're talking about it now, who do you got?
Excuse me, I was taking a sip of water.
I came back to you way too quick.
No, you're fine.
That's
fine.
Bad direction.
I'm gonna go with Wagner here.
Okay, Mario.
Wagner.
And I guess I will jump on the train too. That seems about sound. Anything in particular? Just that size advantage, or just the San Antonio
size advantage? I guess the stigma as well.
When's the last time a team got farther than this? Not to put you on the spot. Do you know?
Not that I know of.
It's been a little while.
I mean, when you, to any of your knowledge, when Weslaco had Van Tilburg, did they make it past the fourth round? I think they only got to the fourth round, and that was it.
I was in the
Metro area.
Yeah, I don't think they have.
So again, going to be a challenge for them as per usual, but they own the distinction of being the last team standing this year, so good on them either way. And I believe the team that was the last team standing last year was PSG North, right?
Yeah, they were the only team that made it to the third round. And someone just commented the only reason Harlingen lost was they were missing shots and they got no rebounds. Well, I mean, yeah, that's a good way to lose games if you don't make shots and don't get rebounds.
Right.
Anyways, I was at PSG North versus Alexander. That was in Alice. That game was Tuesday. This is the second time in as many years these two teams have played each other in the third round. Last year, it was all Alexander. They won by 22 points. This game was only 8 points, I believe, 7 or 8 points. This was a much closer game. PSG North had a 1-point lead after the first quarter. They were hitting their 3-point shots. They were penetrating. Their offense was clicking. They were also getting some easy buckets from Stephanie Crispin, their junior post, who's got their first year as a starting varsity player this season. But after that, Alexander's speed and their depth just really wore down PSG North. PSG North only goes about 6 players deep, 7 players deep on a really bad day. Mm-hmm. Alexander had about 8 or 9 players in this game, and they had one player, I believe, scored 13 points off the bench. She was a leading scorer, and she came off the bench. And PSG North just doesn't have that luxury. And one of their main 3-point threats, Ariana Medrano, she was 0 of 11 from 3 in the first half. She got open looks she just wasn't making, and she's too important of a part for that offense for her to just stop taking shots. I mean, you don't make the shots you don't take. She eventually did start getting that offense going in the second half. She scored 11 points in the second half to really keep this game close, because at one point Alexander looked like they were about to pull away. But not enough offensive firepower, not enough speed, not enough depth, and ultimately the clock just kind of ran out on PSG North here. But nonetheless, congrats to the Lady Raiders. Last 2 seasons, along with Weslaco, Harlingen, and Brownsville Vets, PSG North has been a model of consistency in terms of girls basketball here in the Valley. So congratulations on that team for their success.
This year, them and Weslaco were the only 2 teams to reach the regional quarterfinals, correct?
And Harlingen.
And Harlingen.
And Harlingen.
Right.
Yep.
So we can take a look back then, since we've covered that stuff at the area round, where we made our area picks on the last show. Mario ended up being our winner with 9 correct. John had 8, and I brought up the rear with 7. But not bad for any of us. I think it was, 11 games, something like that?
Something like that.
So a decent showing for all of us. But we can run down the schedule, we can run down the scores, but which game from that round jumped out to you? Is there anything you want to touch on while we look back at it? Looks like the Weslaco High game was close. Do you?
The Weslaco High game was close. I don't know too much about that game. I was getting texts from a fellow coach who made the trip out there to. All I got was the scores. I don't know too much else about that game. PSG North did a really good job against Del Rio. I mean, they beat them by 12 points. I picked Del Rio to lose because Del Rio had some size. They had a 6'3" post player in this game, and PSG North's post, air quotes, is only 5'7". But Stephanie Crispin, who I mentioned earlier in this Alexander game, in this Del Rio game, fantastic job fronting that post and just denying opportunities for her to get the basket, and that really helped PSG North here. I'm looking else here on the schedule. 5A went about the way we thought it would. All the 5A teams here lost.
Well, we had hoped Sherryland would win.
We hoped Sherryland would win, but that game wasn't close. We looked at Crystal City, Hidalgo. That one wasn't close. I think everything pretty much went about the way we thought it would be, more or less, from the area around. So nothing really out of the ordinary that's worth talking about at length here. So
Okay, anything else you want to hit on them before we get over to Mario?
should say that just in the world of general news, McAllen High coach Roy Gonzalez resigned today. That resignation.
How many years?
After 6 years. After 6 years, and he was a 13-year assistant coach there. So he's been there for close to 20 years at Mac High. He will no longer be there as of Friday. So best of luck to him in any future basketball endeavors, or just non-basketball endeavors as well. But it was a pleasure working with him the last 2 years. So I just wanted to share that with the audience as well. So.
There you go, and we'll be sure to follow you on Twitter and figure out who's next there. So
At John DeLay.
I know that's gonna be your thing going forward.
Yep.
For sure. So then, Mario, I guess that puts you back up here.
I'm ready.
Are you ready? Let's talk about the boys. We had 22 games in the by-district and play-in round that we have to talk about now.
Not enough games.
And it turns out in our picks that you did come out ahead. You went 18-4. I went 17-5. And John, using the pick the mascot system, went 12-10. So I mean, better than 500, which is impressive given that.
Hey, I'm surprised you even got that many. I thought I was only going to get like 5 of these games.
We thought you were 11-11, but then we had a scoring correction. It turns out you were a winner. So, so good job. I mean, you do have kind of a coin flip when you are just kind of picking randomly. So
yeah.
I mean, but still, the mascot system is sound going forward. I think that's what we learned here today. Mario, what game did you cover out of this group? Anything you want to talk about off the top from the by-district games?
I covered 2 games. On Monday, I covered Cherlin Pioneer, PSJ High. Generally, for the first round, I tend to go with 2-3 matchups because when you go 1-4, you get the district champion against a team that might have just squeaked by the playoffs. So that was my approach going into this week, and it kind of backfired Monday because Pioneer doubled the score on PSJ midway through the third quarter. They led 50-24. And at that point, I just regretted going to that game. I thought there was something else maybe better. But nothing really local. I think maybe Roe and Laredo United South, they played in Roma. Edinburg Vela beat Porter 107-62. So I guess that might have been the closest game that we had. But this Pioneer team was first year in their playoffs, second-year program. And their athleticism just really showed in this game. They have a team that just looked completely different from last year. They had a couple transfers from Harlingen South. Jordan Wilson leading that group, and he led them on Monday. Had, I'm trying to remember, 20-something points. Really sparked Pioneer on Monday. Pioneer, I guess the biggest thing that PSJ had trouble with was with their shooters because Pioneer has a lot of outside shooting. And when, I guess the PSJ coach was saying afterward how they weren't used to Pioneers I guess just their athleticism, they haven't really seen much of that during district play. So I guess what Pioneer does is they just push the ball up the court really fast, and if they don't get just a good enough shot, they'll just try to drive the lane and get enough passing going to get open shots. So a lot of their baskets were either like 3-pointers or cuts to the lane. There wasn't really much inside play, I guess, unless you just count putbacks. But Pioneer now goes on to the second round. And PSJ High, the number 2 seed in 32-5A, number 3 seed, bows out.
So also on Monday, we had a Periscope commenter who wants to know about Santa Maria. I know you don't get a chance to look at some of the smaller schools because you're busy with the bigger guys, but anything you can tell me about them getting this win against Woodsboro or anything about the team in general that jumps out to you?
No, I mean, I didn't get too much information from that game. Just the 32-8 champions won their first round matchup. I don't think any of us were surprised against the number 4 seed from that district. And now going into next week, Santa Maria, I have it here, will be playing bracket at Three Rivers on Friday.
John was the only one who picked against Santa Maria. I don't remember what Woodsboro's mascot was, but you're a hater.
Yeah.
Also want to give a shout out to JP, our regular Periscope commenter, who also went 18-4 in the first round and tied with us. So McAllen Rowe got a close win. Anything about that game? That seems interesting because we all thought Rowe would win that one.
Yeah, my understanding was that Rowe was ahead by a large amount and then kind of let Laredo United South get in it. I want to say the game went in overtime, even though it doesn't have it on the schedule. I think we might have played in overtime. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, they played overtime, and then they outscored them, I think. Excuse me, it might have been like 8-3 in the overtime that Rowe outscored them. Alex Keith, one of their key returners this season, came up big for them in this game. and that was the only 6A game that we had on Monday.
Right. Vela rolled, and that's really the only other thing of note. So we can move on to Tuesday's games. Where were you at on Tuesday?
I was at Mission High School for Mercedes Roma, another 2-3 matchup, but I think this one was a little more even because you had Roma, the number 3 seed in a tough district, against Mercedes, the number 2 seed in a district that might have been too deep. I guess we're kind of seeing that now with it being Pace, Mercedes, and then PSJ getting blown out.
Right.
So more even matchup with these two teams. Mercedes got out ahead early, and then somewhere late in the third quarter, early fourth, Roma started coming back. It was the first time I got to see the Roma Shack, JR Sepulveda or Manuel Sepulveda. Saw him in this game. Really kept them in the game early on. I think he had like 6 of the first 8 points or 6 of the first 9 points. Really kept them in it, but I think the difference was the guard play with your favorite player, Ray Rincon, who had a game-high 31 points. Even though the Roma coach said afterward that he thought they did everything well, but the guard play was what made the difference. I didn't really see too much out of Roma in that regard. I guess just with Ray, it was kind of hard to come up anywhere near close to what he did yesterday with 31 points. And with I'm surprised Roma was able to storm back, but I was really impressed just by how hard they kept on playing that game. You could sense that it was a playoff atmosphere. Both crowds were going crazy. Roma, I think that's the midway point for both teams because Mercedes is the Mid-Valley and Roma is an hour out from here. So I guess Mission was the sweet spot for them. So both teams had a good turnout. And the biggest thing too in this game was that the Mercedes coach was saying that he thinks one of the things that helped Mercedes was that Roma might have been used to seeing Mercedes play a zone defense, but in this game they went man to man, and that if once they dumped the ball into Sepulveda, they just collapsed on him, which happened a few times, and they were successful a few times like that, especially late in the fourth quarter where they dumped the ball into Sepulveda down 2 or 3, and then Rincon was one of like 3 players to collapse on him, and then just slapped the ball away, and then made things a little bit tougher. But the biggest thing for Roma in that game was free throws. I think in the fourth quarter they made 5 of 11, if I'm not mistaken. Where I had it in the story, whereas Mercedes I think made like 10 of 15 or 10 of 13, something like that. But I think the free throws were the biggest thing that hurt Roma's chances of coming back in that game.
I think to me one of the games that looked interesting was Weslaco East and Los Fresnos, just because Weslaco East came from that loaded district, and it was going to be interesting to see how even as one of the lower seeds coming out of there, they would stand up against the Los Fresnos team who did pretty well in 32-6A. And this game was very close down the stretch that I read about it. Our guy Josh McKinney over at the Brownsville Herald covered it. And I guess Hugo de la Cruz for Los Fresnos scored 24 points and had 10 during the fourth quarter. I think he had 10 in a row during the fourth quarter.
Money de la Cruz.
Money de la Cruz, if you will. To pull that game out there. Was there any other one looking at the schedule or looking at the results or calling around that jumped out to you from Tuesday's action?
Well, I covered Hugo when I was there in Brownsville, and I guess he stopped playing basketball his first year to play golf, and then came back, and then people were surprised that he came out of nowhere because usually I guess they kind of have a feel for who might be joining the team based off of who like plays in middle school and then freshman year, and then they had Hugo show up. And people would say, well, who's that kid? And the coach would say, well, that's my golfer. And I'd poke fun at him that way because for a year there he left basketball to play golf, but then he's been on a hot streak these last 3 years for them.
Right. So any other game from Tuesday that was interesting to you? It looks like the Alexander Palmview game was a close one. I don't know if you know anything about how that played out.
Yeah, I mean, that's Palmview's been a little up and down. I mean, they lost 3 in a row heading into the regular season finale and then beat a MAC team that needed to play a play-in game to get in. Palmview's had some good showings. Again, they're one of these teams that graduated all their starters, and 2 of the reserve players from last year really took over the team this season. I think it's an accomplishment in itself that they were able to make the playoffs considering all the turnover. So I think it's a good year for them nonetheless. I'm sure they don't see it that way because they had larger aspirations than this. But not a bad game, not a bad showing against the Laredo Alexander school that this year was a 2nd seed in that 29-6A district, and they won district games by an average of 19 points a game.
Right. So they were a pretty good team, and it's impressive that Palmview did what they did, even in a loss, I think.
Yeah, and it's a shame because I'm not sure what year the Spanish KD is in, but hopefully it's not the last we see of him.
Absolutely. Anything else from Tuesday you want to cover, or we want to get into some picks?
I think that's it. I mean, Weslaco Harlingen. I think I just like Weslaco. I think they might be the second best Upper Valley team. Or do they count as Upper Valley?
Yeah, they're definition Mid Valley, but I think we lump them into our category sooner than we can.
I think they're the second best Upper Valley team. I really like their whole roster. I think they have 15 players. They played 10 of them at least. And I just think they're one of the more balanced teams. I mean, obviously Edinburgh's been number one all year in our ranking, but I really like them. And they got a balanced effort they got a big effort from Justice Free, who had 22 points against them. And then Edinburg North and the Kobe Pattersons, they also had 3 players score in double figures and were able to take care of Harlingen South, which came into the year with a lot of expectations. But I think they might have struggled a little bit in losing Jordan Wilson, who ended up transferring to Sherland Pioneer and helped that program.
Okay, so then time to look ahead. We will start with Thursday, and I guess the first game on the schedule is a Class 3A game. This is Monte Alto versus Aransas Pass.
Yeah.
Who you got?
I will get Monte Alto.
Monte Alto.
That's a homer pick.
Really?
That's a homer pick.
I'm going to go with not Monte Alto.
Okay.
That seems sound.
What's Monte Alto's logo?
Blue Devils.
What's their mascot?
Oh, Blue Devils must be unbeatable.
We got Blue Devils and the Panthers.
I already put Monte Alto. I mean, I can't.
Blue Devils, Panthers. Blue Devils sounds more formidable here. If a Panther is going to face a Blue Devil,
I mean, Blue Devil would be the state champion in the mascot tournament.
Right there, like Thunderbirds. That's really close.
It's not a real thing. Okay, McCall Memorial.
Well, neither is a Blue Devil. Anyways.
Yeah, but I can't even conceptualize.
Make me Monte Alto.
McCall Memorial at Edinburg North.
McCall Memorial, Edinburg North. I picked McCall Memorial.
Tell me something
and that's
about
actually
that
a little bit. Yeah, that's actually a little bit tougher because, I guess just McCall Memorial. They've been our number 2 team, if I'm not mistaken, or they at least opened the year there.
Yeah, they've been. We've considered them or we at least had the discussion about whether they should be considered number 1.
Yeah, and just from a physical standpoint, I guess they might be the most imposing team in the valley, with 3 kids who are 6'5" and taller. Edinburg North, I guess my bias might be a little bit with them, or at least I might rank them a little bit higher just because I've seen them play so many times this season. I think 31-6A was the district I saw the most. With Edinburg Vela, excuse me, I think we knew who was going to win every game in that district. I didn't
Same with
doubt them. Right? Yeah, and in this game, I guess if you're going to give Edinburg North a chance, it's that they played in the more competitive district and faced these tougher teams like Weslaco High, Weslaco East, Edinburg High, which was good as a 4th seed, whereas McCall Memorial, I don't think was really challenged this year in district. Their biggest challenge might have been McAllen Rowe, which is an undersized team, so I don't know how much they've really had their biggest challenges this year, but I will go with a more known commodity and the team that hasn't really struggled this year, and that's McCall Memorial. Edinburg North, I've seen them lose a game, so I guess that's where McCall Memorial might have the edge.
What kind of size do they have at Edinburg North? Can they hang with Memorial size?
Doesn't he vote McCann lead the valley? Rebounding.
Yeah, he is physical. I wanted to say Kobe Patterson, but he's more of a perimeter player, so he doesn't really have that back to the basket game that you think would challenge one of those 3 bigs. So maybe it might be a situation where DJ Johnson might have to guard Kobe Patterson on the perimeter, which would be exciting for me considering we think very highly of Kobe.
So it comes down to, in terms of on the interior, it would be Ebaldo Pequena would be the kid to watch.
Yeah, and I think
can he get rebounds against people this size?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't think there was really much size in that district. I mean, I think his biggest, I guess the most fun matchup I saw this year in that district with the bigs was UB going up against Justice Free,
right? Which
is a pretty nice battle. But I think in this game, UB would have to worry about DJ Johnson maybe playing there, even though he's more of a swingman. And then you have Jonathan Sanchez too, who's 6'5", 6'7". And I'm trying to remember their other. I think the Sanchez brothers, right?
Josh, yeah,
Josh, the senior sophomore combo. So I think there's more size that UB would have to go up against. It seems like a little bit of a tougher challenge.
How about Los Fresnos versus Laredo Alexander?
Hey, you didn't ask me.
You're a big Mustangs guy. I just put McCallum Memorial down.
No, Cougars would totally maul the hell out of a Mustang.
I thought, Mustangs are bigger, faster, and stronger than Cougars.
But Cougars have fangs. They've got fangs and they've got sharp claws.
All right, so you're just bad at your own system. So Los Fresnos versus
No,
Laredo
seriously,
Alexander.
you think a Mustang would beat a Cougar?
Los Fresnos versus Laredo Alexander.
Okay. Laredo Alexander, as we just said, was the number 2 team in that 31-6A.
But did get challenged by Palmview, for what that's worth.
Word. And Los Fresnos was the district champion in 32-6A, one of the tougher districts this year in the Valley. They finished 13-1, and I believe they were state ranked later in the season when they overtook Brownsville Veterans, which was state ranked going into the year. So this is tough, just because I haven't seen Laredo Alexander and I've seen Los Fresnos a couple times. I want to give Los Fresnos the credit, because they were district champions. They played more district games, 14 game schedule compared to Laredo's 10 game schedule in 29-6A. So I will take Los Fresnos, even though I'm not really too sure how the matchups go there with as far as their size is concerned. Because when I saw Los Fresnos play, I didn't really see much size, and that was part of the thing in that they beat Edinburg North in non-district, and the Edinburg North coach Rudy Garcia told me afterward how he felt that that it was a poor showing for his team to lose against an undersized team when they had UB Pequeño, who scored I think 4 points in that game, and they had Kobe Patterson, who admitted it wasn't their best showing against a smaller team. So maybe Los Fresnos is able to compete against these bigger teams, and that might be what helps them get past Laredo Alexander.
I was trying to pay attention to Mario's great points, but I was looking up on YouTube a cougar eating a horse, and there's all kinds of videos. So I'm not wrong.
How about horse tramples cougar? Anyway.
I'm not bad at my own system. Greg is just really bad at knowing what the food chain is.
I went with Laredo Alexander. To be fair, one of our Periscope commenters did say that a cougar would maul a Mustang, so we have one guy who agrees with you. Are you interested in picking the next game, or are you just on YouTube?
We got Bulldogs versus Falcons. If a Falcon's big enough, we can just pick up a Bulldog and take it away and eat it. So I'm going to take the Falcons.
Los Fresnos it is for John. Weslaco High at McAllen Road. This is an intriguing matchup, but I think we have to lean Weslaco here. But let's let Mario do the analysis.
Yes. Again, Weslaco's great. And McAllen Road, this is their second year with this program. They've developed more of an inside game. I think John saw one of their games earlier this season in a tournament game. And last season, they more or less relied a lot on their three-point shooting abilities, and this year they have more of an inside game, and they have a lot of these players that played in the first round and were bounced out of the first round. But I think Weslaco just has a deeper team, 1 through 8 or even 1 through 10, whereas McAllen Rowe, I'm not sure how much production they get after their starting 5. So I think I pick Weslaco in this, even though they're playing on the road, and I don't think that really counts for too much in high school, considering that it's the Valley, and you're going to get more or less an even turnout from both crowds. So
that's interesting. I didn't realize it was at McAllen Rowe. But yeah, I think I still want to lean Weslaco as well. John, I put McAllen Rowe for you, but I don't know. I'll let you make the call.
And I feel Warriors versus Panthers. It's always tough because you got
the man versus beast.
Man versus beast. That could go 50-50. I'm gonna take the Panthers in this one.
Oh my God! I gotta change your pick again.
I'm gonna take Weslaco.
Brownsville Veterans versus Laredo United. Mario.
I think this is where the road ends for Brownsville Veterans. They came to the year with the high expectations. They finished number 2 in district, which I think they probably were not all too happy with, considering they entered the team as the only state ranked 6A team in the Valley, and then ended up relinquishing that to Los Fresnos, which beat them twice, if I'm not mistaken, to win district. And Laredo United was the first place team there in 29-6A, and to my knowledge did not lose a game, at least did not lose one heading into the regular season finale, and outscored opponents by an average of 23 points per game.
Well, there you go.
So I will give the nod to Laredo United in this matchup.
You've convinced me with the points per game deal there. John, we got some Longhorns against some Chargers, I believe.
Yeah, I'm taking Longhorns.
All right. So now down to Class 5A, probably Mario's easiest pick of the day, Edinburg Vela versus Flower Bluff. Oh, he hesitates.
No,
what do we know about Flower Bluff?
We know they're not going to win.
Okay, there you go. Edinburg Vela, I believe we should talk about them a little bit, given that they're our top team. They breezed through their first round game, right? Anything interesting about the matchup with Porter?
With Porter Vela? No, I think with Porter, I haven't talked with Coach Garcia since the loss, but I think with this team, considering backtracking at just 3 years ago, they went to the fourth round and were one of like 3 teams, I think, to go that far that year. But it was impressive because I don't think any team in a while had advanced that far in the playoffs. And then since graduating that group 3 years ago, or 4 years ago, I think 3 years ago, they were in rebuilding mode. They didn't really look like a varsity team that first year since they graduated everyone, but then gradually they made strides. Last year they started winning some games, and then this season we're able to squeak into the playoffs at the 4th seed. So I think from what I know from that program, I would imagine that was more of the feel-good story that they were able to kind of pick up the pieces and get back in the playoffs after a 3-year rebuilding process.
How about from the Vela side? Did they show anything? Is there anything you take away from their outing here, or anything that we can look at with that team?
I think it just reinforces more that the idea that they're more than just. I mean, I don't know if anyone really sees them as just the Ryan Garza show, but they have a lot more weapons than that. They have Hector Ruiz, who has the ability to be their leading scorer on any given night. He led them in that game against Brownsville Porter at home. But I mean, just the number one thing with Vela is that they have so much talent. Just like Weslaco High, but Vela, for the last couple of years with Coach Rios, he's really just instilled his team that they need to push the pace and they need to play like it's the last possession. So I think he says that he wants 4 strong minutes from them, and then they'll get a minute or 2 breather, and then they go back and give the same kind of effort. So they're all about the full court press and making sure that they play just full energy the whole time, and they don't really worry about their players tiring out because they have a capable bench unit that's at least able to sustain whatever lead they have.
According to Max Preps, Flower Bluff's Cody Brewer is 6'6" and 232 pounds.
He's going to be 5'6" after this game.
And averages 17 points, 7.5 rebounds, and 4 blocks per game.
Yeah.
How does that challenge Vela? What do they do against a guy of that size? Is that something that's going to bother them? Because I know last year they are not the biggest team.
No, but they play big.
Do they?
No, I think Vela, I've seen him play against the teams that have a little more size, and I think they
6'4",
6'6",
6'6".
I don't think it'll be an issue. I mean, I've seen Brownsville Rivera hang with. I mean, they didn't beat him or come close, but they were able to hang in there long enough to not get blown out by McAl Memorial when they played against DJ Johnson. DJ Johnson's 1.5 feet taller than anyone that Brownsville Rivera had when I saw him play twice in non-district. So I don't think that'll be much of an issue. But also, the thing with Vela is that they've loaded up on the roster they got this year. I mean, this isn't part of the big thing, but Trey Chavana, who came from Ed Calgelis, a 6'2" sophomore, transferred from EE last year. He was on consideration for one of our players to watch this season, but he's playing on a loaded team, so that's some size that they have there too. And also they have
who's their tallest player though?
Luis Salinas, who starts at center, or as they say here, post. He starts for them. He doesn't really score all that much, but he's a good anchor for them in the middle. So Luis Salinas, I think, will be assigned to guard whoever.
I don't know. I'd be worried about Cody Brewer if I were you.
Worried because he's going to get shut down, yeah.
This kid seems like he's the real deal. He's putting up some good numbers at least. 58% shooting, man. Look at him.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'll take your word on it. I guess I'm going to ride with Vela. John, what do you got for me with the mascots?
We got Hornets versus SaberCats. If it was like a whole hive of Hornets,
right?
That might be tough.
They don't say how many,
but it just says Hornets, but also says SaberCats.
Let's assume it's 13 on 13. You start 5 versus 5.
5 SaberCats versus 5 Hornets.
Yeah, I think we're going to go with SaberCats.
Now, if these were the giant Japanese Hornets, I would take them. But it's just Hornets. If you do not want to know what a giant Japanese Hornet...
what if it's this guy with the mascot? He's standing there. He's like human size.
If you do not know what a giant Japanese Hornet is, Google it. It's terrifying. It's a hornet about the size of the palm of your hand, and its sting is so venomous that like it melts human skin.
I know you're talking to the listeners, but I'm doing this now.
It's horrible. My God. It's horrifying. It's horrifying.
I need to get out of here.
If it was the Japanese giant...
that's 2 of them?
Yeah, if it was the Japanese giant hornet, I would take them. But no, it's just a regular hornet taking the same.
Mario, are you seeing this right now?
Look at the sting right there. It's like a huge,
seeing this right now?
It's like a dime-sized hole in the skin.
Oh my god, he's eating another huge bug.
Those things
just
do not mess around.
casually.
Look at that.
Ugh.
Those things do not mess
This is
around.
a repug.
Do not mess around with the giant jet.
All right, Mercedes versus Laredo Nixon. Mario, on the phone.
I'm checking Snapchat.
Yeah, you don't have to be. Mercedes versus Laredo Nixon.
Okay.
John, take a look at the mascots for me while Mario.
What are we doing at right
Who's
now?
Laredo Nixon? Mercedes is the Tigers.
Greg, here's what you need to know about Laredo Nixon.
Hold on. John's going first because you lost your chance.
It's the Mustangs versus the Tigers. Oh, by logic with Cougars Mustangs, I got to take Tigers. So I'm going Mercedes.
I mean, that seems sound. I think I got to go with Mercedes because I've trash-talked Ray Rincon too much, and I don't want him to beat me in a game of one-on-one, so I'll take Mercedes.
Oh, we're going to set that up. If he's listening, Ray...
I'm sure
DM me,
he
Ray.
would.
Ray, DM me. I asked Coach Trevino after the game how tall he was, and of course, he didn't embellish or he didn't really exaggerate there because in basketball they're always true to their height.
Right.
I think he listed him. I think he said 5'7" or 8", which I don't think is true, but I don't know.
He's probably about as tall as me, and that would be my only advantage. So yeah, I have no advantage then.
Yeah, I mean he's coming off a 31-point effort, so I don't know if Roma and the Roma Shack couldn't stop him. I don't know how much chance he has.
I wonder how many high school basketball games I would need to play to get to 31 points.
6?
Probably a decent amount.
6?
I can't shoot it. I mean, I need some practice first. If you just put me in there tomorrow, I'd have no shot. The people want to know whether you're taking Mercedes or Laredo Nixon, Mario.
I'm going to take Laredo Nixon, and that is because Mercedes, like I wrote in my story that I'm hoping most people here read, that Mercedes is the smallest team in the Valley, and I think we tend to think of the Laredo schools being bigger, taller, and I think they could get away with that against Roma, but I think as the playoffs progress, I think size will be a more difficult obstacle for them to try to overcome. And Laredo Nixon, I'm trying to pull up their information here.
I already regret my pick. I can't wait till next week when I lose by 1.
So I'm picking Laredo Nixon.
Okay, let's see here. We got a Brownsville Pace versus Victoria East.
Pace
Who wants to go first?
Pace is the Vikings, right? Victoria East. Let's see what they are. I'm sorry, I'm still watching videos of giant Japanese
I know,
hornets.
it's really fascinating, actually.
Victoria East.
Nixon is state ranked, huh?
The Titans. The Titans versus the Vikings. Oh, man, this is the good one. Titans, Vikings. Who's winning?
We have two humanish... Oh, how do you define Titan? When you think Titan, what is that to you?
Someone from Titan, the moon of Saturn. There's a comic book character named Thanos, and he's from Titan. He's going to be one of the villains in the upcoming Avengers movies.
That's
Anyways,
one of the ones that... an Avengers villain would probably be pretty strong.
oh yeah, he's got the 6 or 6 Infinity Stones, and he has the Infinity Gauntlet. He becomes all powerful.
So
I sound like a nerd, but you're all going to love that movie when it comes out in 4 years.
So you're going with Victoria East. 4 years?
2018, 2019, so 2 years.
For which movie?
Avengers 3 and 4. It's going to be it's Avengers Infinity War Part 1 and 2. Comes out 2018 and 2019.
There you go. See, I think like Titan gods.
You saw Thanos. If you saw the new Avengers post-credit scene, he is shown. So
Really, under any definition, a Viking would be no match for this.
no, I'm taking the Titans, Victoria East.
Mario can't get me any real information, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Victoria
No.
East too.
Mario can't
I
give me
would-
any real information.
The Titans thing seems like the best I got right now.
I will pick Brownsville Pace because they were the district champs, and it looks like at some point in the season, Victoria East was the 4th seed. So good for them for getting out of the first round, but I think I will go with a more known commodity with Brownsville Pace.
Pace they went undefeated through that district? Something
Yes,
like that?
yes,
Pace had
they
a
beat
pretty
Mercedes
strong-
twice, which was the runner-up.
And what was their by district game? They got by Valley View pretty one-sidedly. So yeah, maybe Pace does look like a decently strong chance here to continue to move on. Another pick I will regret going with John on. Moving down to Class 4A, Hidalgo versus Bernie.
Yes, I will go with Hidalgo. I think, I guess I'll give people a little preview of the advance that we're going to have in Friday's paper ahead of the area round will be on Hidalgo, on Miguel Coronado, who is a senior, and he played with Hidalgo these last 2 years as part of the Sweet 16 team, and he was he's the lone player that played in the Sweet 16 those 2 years, really led this team inside, and I had them as a fringe playoff team, and they finished second. And at some point in the season, or late in district, they were actually the front runner for the district title, but they lost the game they should have won. I forget if it was to Zapata or Rio Hondo, but they lost to them by 1 point. Had they won, they would have won the district title because they had the tiebreaker over La Feria. So this is a Hidalgo team that won the last 4 district titles, and this year with a whole new group, they're back in it. They were within a point of, or 2 points, I guess, of actually getting a 5th straight district title. Now they're going to play in the second round. I think it's a good story for them, and I think they're one of the more impressive stories in that district. I don't know much about Bernie, but I do know that Hidalgo has been really competitive this year. They've scrapped, and they have done more with less this season, so I will pick them just off of that.
John, did you have time to look this up? Hidalgo versus Bernie?
Bernie,
too many Hornet videos?
Bernie is the Chargers. Chargers versus Pirates. Both kind of weak mascots here if we're going to put them together in a fight.
Just sort of depends how you define Chargers, too, huh?
Yeah, I guess it does. But you know what? Since you know what a pirate is, I'm going to go with them.
I like Pirates, too.
It's more defined.
I think we all are on Hidalgo for our various reasons. La Feria versus Fredericksburg, Mario.
I will go with Fredericksburg.
Okay, do we know anything about either of these teams?
We know that we don't know anything about them, so I think it's just safer not to...
I like Fredericksburg, too. That reminds me of a place that I used to cover minor league baseball. John!
The Fredericksburg Billies, as in Billy Goats.
Nice.
And who are they playing?
They are playing La Feria.
Ooh, Lions versus Billy Goats. That seems pretty lopsided to me. I'm going to take a La Feria here.
I like it.
Now, if this was, if you saw the horror movie The Witch that just came out in theaters, there's a Billy Goat in there that is literally the spawn of Satan.
We have to assume that this is not that, although the little logo there looks kind of creepy.
Almost like a pentagram, but no satanic Billy Goats here. Just plain
satanic
old ordinary Billy Goats. I'm taking La Feria.
So Lyford versus Mathis getting down to Class 3A. Mario, take a pick.
I will take Lyford.
Lyford seems good then, because you're cool. John, what do we know about these mascots?
Well, we know Lyford is the Bulldogs, and for Mathis, they are the Pirates. Again, Pirates who crush Bulldogs, so I'm taking the Pirates.
Mathis it is,
Mathis,
right?
Yep.
Okay. Now, Lamar Odom is back this week. He is now taking on Santa Rosa.
And he's going to have a hard time against Violara, so I pick Santa Rosa.
Santa Rosa, again, I really like Lamar Odom, but I can't pick against one of the Valley's leading scorers. John?
Or leading basketball.
What's Santa Rosa? Santa Rosa Warriors?
Yeah.
And we got the Odom Owls.
That is weak.
Did you know that, according to, I guess going against popular belief, owls are no wiser than any of the birds. They're actually pretty stupid because most birds are pretty stupid.
They just look smart, huh?
They just look smart.
What about the eagle?
Eagles are pretty stupid too.
Yeah.
Most birds are pretty stupid. I think turkeys are considered like the smartest bird, but that's not saying much.
That's weird.
All birds are pretty stupid.
Huh,
If they were that smart, they wouldn't get hunted like that.
I mean,
therefore evolution ain't real, JK. It absolutely is. Odom versus
can you
who
keep
now?
your liberal agenda elsewhere?
It's not a liberal agenda. It's scientific fact. It's scientific fact.
So
Evolution's
Santa
real.
Rosa, like what the hell?
Warriors, Owls. Yeah, Warriors.
Santa Rosa, and we are down to Class 2A, Santa Maria versus Bracket. Just one bracket.
I will pick Santa Maria, the district champions in 32-2A, dethroned San Isidro, which is no easy task, so I will go with Santa Maria.
So we have a decent amount of Valley teams in the lower levels that we like.
How do we spell
enough to
bracket? BR.
Keep moving on.
ACKETT. They will play at Three Rivers, which is, like an hour 15, an hour 30 from here?
Bracket's playing who now?
Santa Maria.
Who's Santa Maria?
You know what Santa Maria's mascot is?
I'll look it up. I think it's the Cougars. Yeah, it's the Cougars.
It's the Cougars.
Santa Maria Cougars versus the Tigers.
A classic battle of cats.
Well, Tigers are the biggest cat in the world, so I think size matters here, as they like to say. Hashtag that's what she says.
Hashtag calm down.
Taking bracket.
Sherilyn Pioneer versus Corpus Christi Miller. We're going to Saturday, and this is the only Saturday game, so they're going to have the spotlight all on their own.
They will, and it'll probably be on Jordan Wilson, who is a beast. So I will pick Pioneer. Maybe, I guess my key is for them because I don't know much about Miller, and I think if Miller were that good, we might have heard a little bit more from them, but maybe that's my fault for not really doing my due diligence with them.
I'm just going to take Miller and assume it's because you didn't do your due diligence.
But I guess here's the argument. Pioneer was the second seed in that district behind Vela. Without Vela, they are the district champions, and I think that's more than enough reason to believe that they should advance past the second round.
I think that makes sense to me too. It's been a pretty impressive season for them. John, Miller or Pioneer? What's Miller?
Buccaneers.
Ooh.
So we got not the Pirates, a little different. We got the Buccaneers, a bit more swashbuckling.
It's just like snakes on a boat.
A bit more swashbuckling in nature. I think when all is said and done, I think Miller might be tired of these monkey fighting snakes on this Monday to Friday basketball game. I'm going to go with the Diamondbacks. I think Diamondbacks would just takes one bite, and that would be in what. If you get bit by a Diamondback, you got, like 20 minutes to live at most? So.
Snakes on a boat seems even more scary than snakes on a plane.
Yeah, it does, at least because,
That is a good reason to go with Sheridan.
Snakes on a boat.
Here's my argument, too, for Pioneer. Pioneer is a 5A team, and I would say that most 5A teams that are good update their max preps, and Corpus Christi Miller did not do that. They are 16-4, 9-2 at the last count. I don't think their district ends in an odd number, so... Something happened here where Miller just stopped updating it, which leads me to believe that Pioneer will win because Pioneer has updated max reps all year. They have their stats together, so that's why I pick Pioneer
Advanced
stats over a disorganized Miller team.
Okay, now...
And I'm kidding, JK.
We are on to upset alert. Can you stop it? What would have happened if it said TV edit and it wasn't the TV edit?
Well, I guess we would have had.
We would have had to trash the whole podcast.
No, but I just wanted everyone to know.
We all would be fired.
We still
Mario, you last week for Upset Alert segment picked Edinburg High over Brownsville Veterans. How did that work out?
I think the Bobcats gave a good effort.
Okay, so you lost.
I did.
Do you have one for this week?
An upset for the area round. Let me see what would qualify as an upset because I don't want to let down the fans.
You've never worried about that before?
Yeah, but I mean, in football, Greg, I hardly ever am wrong with upsets. I don't think I had one wrong this year with football.
We didn't pick upsets.
I did. Every pick that I had. Okay. Upset alert for basketball will be...
John, you want to pick a boys game?
I had it. Look.
Sure.
Edinburg North over Memorial.
Edinburg North over Memorial. Wow, you're gonna anger our only fan.
Edinburg North over Memorial.
I'll go with that. That's not that.
I'll go double duty. I'll make that an upset too. Give me that. I was going to actually pick that. Edinburg North over Memorial.
Well, there you guys have it. So we have 2 more upset picks, which means that... Oh, I don't have to do this. I just get to host. It's the best. Yeah. Anything else you guys want to touch on before we get out of here?
Yes.
Enough is enough. I have had it with these monkey fighting snakes on this Monday to Friday plane.
There you have it.
I'm going to find a way to get this in every show now. This is great.
I mean, yeah, that was one of my favorite movies of all time. It's just perfect.
I've got nothing else to talk about.
Well, swimming, tell me about the kid who won the bronze medal.
Swimming, yeah. Shouts to Shane Casas of McAllen High. He was a sophomore and he won bronze in the 100-meter backstroke. Got 3rd place there. He was the only Valley kid to medal of all the swimmers and divers. So
and Mario, tell me about the wrestlers who won the state.
Victor Segura for Gruya won. That's a 4A program for most sports, but they compete in 5A in wrestling. Victor won in his weight class and became the first boys wrestler in, I believe, 8 years or 6 years to win. The first Valley wrestler to win. The first Valley boys wrestler in 6 years, and I believe the first one since Rio Grande City had a girl, I think, 3 years ago. So a big accomplishment for Gruya. The coach was really happy about it, saying that he believes this will be what sparks or what kind of generates interest in the school to get more wrestlers. They don't really have that big of a program, and I don't think they won any of the duals meets, which requires them to have wrestlers fill out all the weight classes. So the Gruya coach told me that he just thinks that this will really get kids interested in going. Kids who are maybe hesitant about joining wrestling, maybe now we'll give it a try, seeing as how they just had a kid who won state, and maybe that could happen for any one of those wrestlers that comes out for Gruya now. And Rio Grande City also had a good showing. I think overall the Valley sent a ton of wrestlers, and last year they had 3 wrestlers who placed. This year the Valley had 6. 2 of those 3 also placed, if I'm not mistaken, with Alec Gonzalez for Rio Grande City and Leslie Oliva for La Jolla Juarez Lincoln. And overall good showing. I think the sport's growing here in the Valley. You're seeing it year after year. And I don't know, good things ahead. I think Rio Grande City really took a big step forward this year with winning boys and girls in district, winning girls at regionals. Their JV won. I think Coach Pratt was joking how the boys came in 2nd place and he was disappointed, but that's how high the bar set there at Rio Grande City, that they're just looking to sweep at every meet they go to and any competition they go to.
Who's the best softball team?
That's tough because I think out of all the sports that I cover, I think softball is the one where where the preseason rankings might look totally different from, and I might leave off. Someone might finish in the top 5 that I didn't have in my top 10. La Jolla High I wasn't aware would be this good. They beat, I don't know if it was Sherilyn High, or they beat someone this week 21-2 in 3 innings or something. So they've really been impressive, and they will play in the La Jolla ISD tournament beginning tomorrow, 3-day tournament. we should be out at that, and then there's also the Weslaco ISD tournament. But yeah, La Jolla is looking good. Edinburg North is looking good. 31-6A as a whole. Like in basketball, will be very competitive in softball with Edinburg High, Edinburg North, and blanking on the school there. But 31-6A is always competitive. I think there was like a 3-way tie somewhere there last season in the playoff picture. And I'm trying to think of anything else noteworthy.
Well, you'll have a whole slate of softball that people can follow up on. John's got track meets this weekend.
I do. That's in McAllen. It's going to be big. It's probably the biggest meet of the season so far. I think it's going to be like an actual track meet. Some of these early meets, people kind of get their track legs underneath them, no pun intended. This one, I feel like kids are really going to start in earnest making that push towards the state meet ultimately.
We're getting into the second half of soccer. You can keep up with me for that. Dennis Silva, Roman numeral 2, will be coming at you with the baseball knowledge. So you can follow all of us on Twitter at RGV Sports. You can find us on Facebook at RGV Sports. You can obviously find us here on Periscope at RGV Sports. We got RGVSports.com, the website where all of our stories go and all of our scores and everything else goes. We have Mario on Twitter where?
You said the right keyword. On Mario _Aguirre.
And we have John on Twitter.
On Twitter, at Jon Fillet.
And I'm on Twitter at Greg Luca. And that is the end of the show, so listen to this. Yeah, one more time.
Okay, one more time.
Just give it to me one more time, and then I'll hit the stop button, and that's how we leave the people.
All right, this is our last Samuel L. Jackson shout out. We'll see you next time, folks.
Enough is enough. I have had it with these monkey fighting snakes on this Monday to Friday plane.
Good show. Somebody wants the baseball top 5. Can I find that online somewhere? Dennis is
at Dennis Silva too.
Dennis is our baseball writer. He is not in the building, but because I like you guys on Periscope, I'll try to find it.
Oh my god.
Off the top of my head, I don't know.
Off the dome?
I couldn't even guess off the top of my head. Oh no, I did that thing where it just opens a story that I don't want it to open. Hold on.
Our website's good, Greg.
No, it's awesome. It's the best. It's the best website.
Yeah.
Let's see.
We should have a Periscope or we scope interview with the creators of the website, or just the designers, or whatever you want to call them.
Here's a high school baseball preview. I hope it's here.
No, I think Dennis might have broken it off.
Are you serious?
I'd imagine. Well, I guess he usually likes to lump everything together, so he might have had that. But
Come on, players to watch. Give me a top 10. All right. Number 1, Brownsville Veterans Memorial. Number 2, Edinburg High. Number 3, Mission Veterans Memorial. Number 4, La Jolla Palmview. And number 5 is Hidalgo. That is your preseason baseball top 5.
Okay.
Hidalgo, I know, was number 1, at least at the start of last year, and then I think they were kind of disappointing, so we'll see how they do.
We'll see what happens.
Anything else you guys want to talk about, or anything else the Periscope universe wants to talk about before we get out of here?
Yeah, anything else the Periscope people want to know
We're
about?
like way ahead of schedule this week.
We are.
I'm already making my plans for the fourth
Sanchez
round.
will shut Kobe down, and something else they can't spoil with Adam. Something
In
like
basketball?
that. Yeah.
Okay, I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know if you've seen Kobe Patterson play.
Dude is swagalicious.
No, I don't know. Really though,
He's up in the gym working on his fitness.
I don't know. If
I'm his witness.
I don't know if they would match up though, because Kobe's more the perimeter player, whereas Sanchez, brothers, if I'm not mistaken, are more inside. So I don't know if it might actually be Kobe against DJ Johnson, who's a swingman. So it might
That would
be
be cool.
those two. Yeah.
What's the difference between a swingman and a wingman?
Well, swingman.
I think
you're playing
wing
two
is like.
positions, whereas the wingman, you're with your homie, your one guy.
There you go. But wingmen have to be versatile sometimes.
True.
Enough is enough! I've had it with these monkey fighting snakes.
John, who's your wingman here in the valley?
Who's my wingman in the valley?
Yeah.
My cat, Freddy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
He goes with me everywhere.
Hoping it would be me.
Yeah.
I mean,
Pokemon turns 20 on Saturday.
It does. Favorite Pokemon.
Did you know about that?
No, I've seen the previews for the commercials from the Super Bowl, so I figured it was coming up soon. Favorite Pokemon?
Kabutops.
Original, yeah, that's right. I've always asked you that. I always forget. Kabutops. Yeah, of the original 151, there's like 5 million of those things now, and only the first 151 count.
Kabutops, easily the best Pokemon.
Pidgeotto. Dragonite's cool. Pidgeotto's my favorite. I'm a sucker for flying Pokemon. Pidgeotto will always be my favorite. So.
SB Nation, I don't know if this was new or if my friend just sent it to me, but they did college football programs as Pokemon.
What?
Like for every...
Oh, it's like a college football.
3 days ago, yeah. All 129 major college football programs as Pokemon. Let's see if I can find Indiana for you. This thing's probably going to take a while to load because it's 129 college football programs.
You just do Control F and type
Yeah.
Indiana.
Well, I wasn't sure if it was loading, that's why I was...
Voltorb.
Fast, entertaining, electric, and has a penchant for self-destruction and chaos.
Yeah, sure.
Dragonite carried my team in the video game. Dragonite? What about what's the big one?
Huh?
Remember Dragon Ball Z?
Oh no, Dragonite is the big one.
Dragonite is the big one. I do remember Dragon Ball Z. Piccolo's my guy. That is my guy. Yeah, I rep for Piccolo. If I can have like a back alley, like starting 5 of anime characters, Piccolo is absolutely on that team. That dude will ball hard. That dude's like the Zach Rand. He's like the Rasheed Wallace of Dragon Ball Z.
When Babe
Look at this. It's Tim Tebow Venusaur.
When Babe finally takes her boyfriend's name off her bio.
Damn it. Tim Tebow Venusaur, man. Look at him. Strong, it lives in a swamp.
Who's Pidgeotto? I want to see who they compare Pidgeotto to. Anybody?
How do you spell Pidgeotto?
Pidgeotto.
PID.
You got Pidgey. Pidgeot. Arizona's Pidgeot. And they got Pidgey. San Diego State's Pidgey.
A perfectly chill Pokemon whose most famous attack is literally just kicking sand. There you go.
Charizard.
They like-
Charizard's cool too.
I was really impressed with this because Pokédex. They actually would quote the the
Yes.
one on Pit says Magikarp's Pokédex entry reads, in the distant past it was somewhat stronger than the horribly weak descendants that exist today. And then talked about how Pit's program used to be good. Like somebody went all out on this thing. I'm really proud of these
Props to
guys.
them. I'm so good for them. Although with SB Nation, they got some hot water last week because they ran that story on the former Oklahoma football player who became a cop and then sexually assaulted and raped several women.
You always gotta make it dark.
Allegedly.
No, he was convicted.
Oh, okay.
He was convicted
You have to throw that
and
out
sentenced to life in jail, multiple life sentences. And SB Nation ran a long form story that was a total puff piece on him, and it just totally tried to exonerate everything. And now SB Nation has put their long form program on hiatus, and they're just probably going to fire every single editor.
Look at this one. It's Kabutops as a horn frog.
OTC, that's awesome.
With multiple life sentences, is the thinking that maybe they might have a way of coming back, and we need a.
No, I just
what's
think.
the thinking behind that?
I mean,
Just to send a message.
Well, no, it's just that he was charged with 9 counts of whatever, and each count carried that punishment. He got found guilty on 9 counts, so he got sentenced to 9.
Auburn's Charizard.
Auburn is Charizard.
Fire-breathing badass, fast and mystical, but with defined weaknesses that worry anybody putting a lot of faith in it.
Hey.
Like, say, a decent grounding.
I think that's it for now, folks.
PCZ.
We'll let you go. Thanks so much.